I see heaven all around me since I laid my burdens down. I see heaven all around me since I laid my burdens down. Glory, glory, hallelujah, since I laid my burdens down. Glory, glory, hallelujah, since I laid my burdens down. Since I laid my burdens down. Since I laid my burdens down. Thanks for singing.
Oh, thank you, sweet Spirit, for those moments of freedom when we lay our burdens down. And the goal is to make a string of those moments, right? And make a flow out of it. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm happy to be here, as always, and to be uplifted by the music and uplifted by your presence and just the general energy I feel when we all assemble here. And we will just smoothly transition into our day together here, our time here. So let's do that always first by going to prayer. So I invite you to take a breath and release all the busyness of the day before and the evening and the morning of getting here. And we are open and receptive to being here now, for in this now moment, we receive what we need from the Spirit. And we are grateful for that. We are grateful for this human experience and all of its sideways, forwards, ups and downs, and all around. Thank you, sweet Spirit. We are blessed and we are grateful. And so it is. Amen. Please join me in our opening statement. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in our life. God, the good, omnipotent. And I like to say, if we just meditated on this one thing, everything else would be revealed. Our vision, a world of spiritually awakened hearts and minds. And our mission is, we are creating a joyful community on a spiritual pathway to peace and love through fellowship, classes, music, and services. And so it is. Please be seated. And now, I believe John is reading the daily word. Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Today's word is renew. I am restored by the Spirit of God within me. Renewal is part of the rhythm of daily life. Eating and drinking to nourish and replenish my body, resting to quiet my mind, and sleeping after a day of activity are all ways to renew myself. But sometimes those efforts aren't quite enough to sustain me. At times I feel drained at depth. I may need spiritual renewal. God, the one presence and power, is with me always. But it is up to me to keep my awareness of God strong. When I awaken, I say a prayer of blessing for what the day will bring. Throughout the day, I feel God's presence all around me. When I prepare for sleep, I say a prayer of gratitude for all that the day has brought. In God, I am renewed, moment by moment, day by day. And from 2 Corinthians 4:18, we look not at what can be seen, but what cannot be seen. For what can be seen is temporary, but what cannot be seen is eternal. Today's word is renew.
Every moment is a choice of how we want to be. To stay down or rise above. We write our own story. Let's take it higher. Do all that we can. Take it higher. Beyond what we have had. Take it higher. Be the love we're made to be. The love we came here to be. Bring the darkness into light. Awake on a new day. Open up our sight. See a new way. Where every wall is a place to rise above or break it down. In every stumble there's the fall. Here's the way for the climb. Let's take it higher. Do all that we can. Take it higher. Beyond what we have been. Take it higher. Be the love we're made to be. Open our hearts. Love sets us free. Open our minds to endless possibility. Open our lives. Fulfill love's legacy. To take it higher. Do all that we can. Take it higher. Beyond what we have been. Take it higher. Be the love we're made to be. The love we came here to be. The love that sets us free. You and me. Let's take it higher. Take it higher. Take it higher.
Oh, I've had quite the week. And you're going to hear all about it. But before I share where I was last week, I want to go back to April, actually. Was talking with some friends, and a friend of mine in Virginia came up in the conversation. And I haven't seen her in almost 6 years, and we've traveled the world together and, just get along famously until we didn't one time. So it's been all this time, and as I was describing to someone what happened, I started to tear up. And I said, I really miss Karen. Okay, that was the end of that. Didn't reach out to her. Although we would talk from time to time. It wasn't a total disconnect. It just wasn't like the good old days, right? Okay. About a week later, doing the prayer circle, I get a phone call from Karen. And I think the circle had finished, or we hadn't begun yet, so I quickly got up and went to my office, and I just said, I'll call you back. So I did, and we talked for an hour, and she said, well, I had a dream about you. And I said, you did? And she said, yes. I dreamed we were somewhere together, and you were upset with me because I had missed your birthday. And I said, well, my birthday's in 3 days. You didn't miss it. So we talked for a little bit. Next thing I know, I get a birthday present in the mail from Karen. And there was a card that was just, let's reboot, basically. Great, wonderful, this is working out well. Next thing I know, I get a text from her saying, I'm going to Bandon, Oregon to visit EJ. Now, EJ is Reverend EJ Niles. I don't know if any of you know who she is, but she is a well-known, brilliant minister who is a Bible scholar, and her system for understanding the evolution of consciousness is called spiral dynamics. And so she's been a teacher of that. EJ's 93. She was asked last summer, to go to Unity Village and teach about aging gracefully, because she's 93. So she gave this beautiful talk, which was captured in a booklet. I don't have it here for you because I didn't know it existed, but I found out it did. 6 months later, EJ's home alone and she has a stroke. She has a stroke. And we're not sure how long she was by herself, but she managed to get to a phone and people could see who was calling, whoever she was calling. And they came and they found her. So we went up to see EJ in her recovery, and we already knew that EJ's mind was sharp as ever, but her ability to speak is impacted. 3 mornings we spent with EJ. Karen and I, number one, reconnecting, going to see EJ, and talking. EJ, her mind, she wants to join in the conversation, but it kind of comes out like her own language. It's, it's how the brain is when it's been impacted, wounded that way. So we couldn't understand anything but yes, no. And there was a lot of body language, and we had discussions about alien civilizations. We had discussions about just about everything. And I read to her excerpts from my book, because she can still read, but she can't write. Now, the point of what I'm about to say is, on the one hand, it was upsetting a little bit to see such a beautiful mind and soul, who incidentally was my predecessor in my former church, to be impaired like this. And at some point, Karen was off talking to her grandson about EJ, and EJ and I had some moments together. And I'm sitting across from her and I said, EJ, we're gonna have to forget about words. I said, let's do a mind meld. She said, okay. So I sat there and tuned into her spirit, her vibration as best I could. And what I picked up from her were 2 things. The first thing, don't worry about me. Don't worry about me. And she was talking to both of us. Don't worry about me. And the second thing was, this is my experience, don't tell me what to do. Because there was a lot of overcare and over concern that was happening. I've been thinking about this ever since. Number one, I never would have gone to Oregon just to see EJ. We flew into Eugene and drove 3 hours after that to get to Bandon, Oregon, which is beautiful, beautiful coastline in Oregon, and a very spiritual place I picked up. How spirit works with pulling this all together. April the beginning, July the 3 of us there in a reunion of sorts. I want to talk today about when our normal suddenly shifts. Seeing EJ or any other friend or any other situation, our human response is to say, oh, this is wrong. Something's terribly wrong, and we've got to fix this. We've got to do this, do this, do this, do this. And from my perspective, after being there, it's like, no, there's nothing wrong here. There's nothing wrong here. This is just a new normal. And what does a new normal require of us? It requires letting go of the good old days. Letting go of when I could do this and I could do that. And to accept the fact that some things do change. And the things that change are the things that are temporal. But the things that are eternal never change. And once you've made a connection from the heart with someone, that is eternal. So there's really nothing to fix here. When our challenges upset our normal and we are called to readjust, our first impulse is to fix it, to squelch it, to deny it, to overcome it. And yes, I do believe in healing. Absolutely, I believe in healing. And I also know that your soul may have another path. And God is in charge of that. The Spirit is in charge of what you need to learn. So I don't know, I wouldn't presume to say what EJ's lessons are in her having this human experience. I can only look at myself and where I've been in this process of visiting EJ and ask, what is my spiritual lesson? What is my spiritual lesson? Well, as you all know, I'm a woman of words. I'm take after my dad. I can tell you from beginning to end how bread is made, how it's stocked in a store, and how it's discarded. In his retirement, he was a bread man. But words aren't it. Something is transmitted vibrationally just from our presence, just from the consciousness that we are holding. When it's one of acceptance and surrender and gratitude, then whatever the challenge is appearing in our lives to teach us is a great gift. Yes, our challenges are great gifts. Because when we hit that wall, when we can't control, what do? We let go. We surrender. And once we learn and accept the gift of what our challenge is offering us, the challenge, I believe, falls away. It's not needed anymore. We got the message, right? We got the message. So I want to tell you something else too. I was debating about whether to tell you so much about my personal experience, which was great. Had a great time. Great weather, except flying back. I kept thinking about EJ's story and how she's always been a teacher with words. I've had other teachers too. There was a man in my church in Virginia who was a licensed Unity teacher, and I credit him with teaching me about unconditional love. And he didn't do this by lecture or teaching a class or anything. He did it by being himself. George looked like Santa Claus, big, long white beard, long white hair. He wore his house shoes. He sat on the front row. His shirt was too tight, and so his belly stuck out. And he's the one who taught me about Dr. David Hawkins. George was very much into muscle testing and kinesiology, and he'd sit right there on the front row, and I would be speaking, and I would say something, and George would go to test whether or not what I was saying was true. George liked to go out to lunch almost every Wednesday. So we'd go to this restaurant, and in his meditations, he had all these lives that I had lived and he had lived with me. And so he'd write them down and he'd tell me all about them. And then right there in the middle of the Italian restaurant or the little vegetarian cafe, he'd say, put out your hand, put out your arm. And I'd put out my arm like this. And he'd say, repeat after me, I'm Nefertiti. I am Nefertiti. And then he would muscle test whether or not that was true for me, kinesiology. He also would stick his napkin right here, and he needed it when he ate spaghetti, you know? So I'm sitting there, and for the longest time, it was kind of something I endured. And then one day, all of that just shifted. And I looked past the appearances. And I saw what a dear, dear person this was. He always called me his adopted daughter. Gifted me with so many things because he didn't have any children. He gave me a diamond ring that was his grandmother's. And I said, George, I can't accept this. He said, oh, it's just rocks and wire. I've got nobody else to give it to. And I knew it would hurt him more to not receive. I look around my house today, George blessed me with that, George blessed me with that, George blessed me with that. I received the gift. And when I say unconditional love, I don't care what that man wore. I don't care how many times he sat in the front row. I don't care how many times in the restaurant. I was Cleopatra, I was Marilyn Monroe. I'm just making stuff up. I didn't care. We were in our own reality. So let's go back to what is your reality. What if your reality suddenly shifts? Then what? Then what? Who are you in the core of your being? And what are you grateful for? Are you grateful for your challenges? Our biggest gifts are hidden inside our challenges. Because in facing our challenges, we are called to remember the truth of who we are. And greater is the love that is all around and buried within than the fear of the challenge that might be presenting to yourself. So, back to George. Haven't been thinking about George at all. So I had one of those Saturday nights that I go, oh, please God, no. You know, I go to bed 10:30, go to sleep 15 minutes. 1 o'clock, 1:30, I'm wide awake. And I'm going, this happens occasionally and it's okay, but not on a Saturday night. Not on a Saturday night when I've been traveling and I get up at 4:30 in the morning. So I lay there and I fluff the pillow and I turn and I toss and I go this way and I go that way and I go this way and I can't go to sleep. So I tell myself, you're just gonna have to trust the process, Donna. Just gonna have to let go and say, it's okay. It's okay. Finally, my cat comes, gets right up under my chin, puts her head right next to mine, and I found that cute and comforting. Finally, I went to sleep. Deep sleep. And I had a dream about George. I dreamed I was at George's house with some other people. And we'd spent the night. And I got up the next morning and I went, oh, it's Sunday. And I'm at George's house. I said, George, I've got to go home. I can't wear these clothes. Blah, blah. So George says, okay, I'll take you back. But he had a cherry pie. And he gave me this cherry pie. And then I woke up and I thought, it was very lucid dream. Very lucid. So I start doing my final preps, my meditation, I light my candles, I do all that I do, and I pull this book off the shelf, and I'm reading it. And what do I find stuck in this book? This little angel note, 42504, happy birthday, Donna, and then his initials. And I thought, wow. And I opened up to this poem by Rumi, who I also love Rumi, as much as Leonard Cohen. The Persian poet Rumi writes about a priest who prays for thieves and muggers on the streets. Why is this? This is Rumi. Because they have done me such generous favors. Every time I turn back toward the things they want, I run into them. They beat me and leave me in the road. And I understand again that what they want is not what I want. Those that make you return, for whatever reason, to the Spirit, be grateful to them. Worry about the others who give you delicious comfort that keeps you from prayer. Be grateful for your adversaries. And I think that's something Jesus taught. So I look at that and I think, what experiences have I tried to shove down, bury, forget again and again and again and again and again, instead of just seeing beyond without the physicality to the core of the spirit. There are layers and layers and layers of stuff we tell ourselves until we just stop the story and be here now. And know that there is only one presence and one power. And that is the presence and power of love that heals all that needs to be healed. That guides your steps, whether you know it or not. It's a gift. Will you receive it? Is the question. Is the question. So I mentioned Leonard Cohen. There's a song called If It Be Your Will That I Speak No More. I will sing your praises. I will wait until I'm spoken for. I will sing your praises from the hills, if it be your will. That's a different kind of praise if you speak no more, right? It's a different type of expression of love. He's also got another song that I'm going to read these lyrics to you because I don't know them by heart, but I love them because not only was he a fabulous arranger, composer, musician, he was a fabulous poet, in my opinion. And this is called Heart with No Companion. Now I greet you from the other side of sorrow and despair, with a love so vast and shattered, it will reach you everywhere. And I sing this for the captain whose ship has not been built, for the mother in confusion, her cradle still unfilled, for the heart with no companion, for the soul without a king, for the prima ballerina who cannot dance to anything. Through the days of shame that are coming, through the nights of wild distress, though your promise count for nothing, you must keep it nonetheless. You must keep it for the captain whose ship has not been built, for the mother in confusion, her cradle still unfilled, for the heart with no companion, for the soul without a king, for the prima ballerina who cannot dance to anything. And I greet you from the other side of sorrow and despair, with a love so vast and shattered, it will reach you everywhere. Often it is through our brokenness, not just our challenges, but our brokenness, that we find how beautiful we truly are. So EJ was my mentor, my good friend, my teacher, and she is still teaching without words. She blessed me with the lesson that I needed at this time. And so it is for all of us with each other. Thank you, sweet spirit. Isn't it amazing how spirit works? You know, George coming through in a dream, giving me exactly what I needed, and so on and so forth. I'm done. I want to share this with you. This is a crystal heart of many layers.
Oh, beautiful.
EJ gave it to me.
Wow.
So Amber said, any inkling what you might be talking about? Because I always use the word inkling. And I thought of this. And I said, layers of the heart. It's layers of our heart that we can shed in order to get to the crystal clear, comprehensive, big picture. When you look into this crystal heart, at the very end is a clear, clear heart. And that's the goal. You're welcome to take a look at it. I'll put it on the table in the back.
Cool.
I have a crystal heart collection. Isn't that another coincidence? She didn't know that. Okay. It is time now to bless our offering. So I invite you to hold your gift in your hand, your prayer in your heart, and know that the energy with which you give your gift is the truth of your gift. And I ask you also to visualize, with no attachment, how you would like to see your gift contribute to this experience. And affirm with me, if you will, the blessing that was our co-founder's blessing. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And I am grateful.
Silken sliver in the dark sky, catch a wink and a smile, maybe a shooting star, a silent wish. I believe we are all just passing by, in the blink of an eye may all go away. All we have is this moment to live for this day. I'm gonna live this dream from inside, wear it on my sleeve for all to see. Tread lightly, my friend, on my heart you stand. Might have already been, we may be here again. The earth holds our history, what was and what will be, what will be. Tonight she dreams of a gentler day. Tonight I dream of a gentler way. I'm gonna live this dream from inside, wear it on my sleeve for all to see. Crescent moon on her back, I swear she's grinning at me. What she must see through the centuries. We are just tiny parts, turning our hearts inside out, giving all to our dream. We're gonna live this dream from the inside, shed all those layers of your heart and learn to be. I'm gonna live this dream from the inside. I'm gonna live this dream.
Okay. Sounds better if I hold it a little bit. A little addendum. In researching and preparing for this, I studied about the real heart. How many layers does the real heart have, right? Generally speaking, there are three layers. But then you got the layer of the body over the heart, and then the layer of the skin over the body, and then the energetic layer that surrounds us all, known as an aura. Got all of this stuff. That's not so important as knowing what the heart does. And it takes all of these layers to help the heart function. The heart gives blood and receives it back. It is life-giving. As within our consciousness, so it is in our outer realities. We are here to give and receive this life-giving blood called love. And that means we cannot judge our experience. We cannot condemn our challenges. Again, they are our greatest gift. Okay, now I think I'm done. For real, except for closing. So if you would stand and let us close our service. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is body, mind, and spirit. And all is well.
That's the truth.